Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back, and we're just not back. Football is back. We are recording here on a Thursday evening. The Lions had their first training camp practice, and I was live at the Allen Park, the APHQ 222 Republic Drive down there, getting to watch the first practice for the Lions. We're going to talk all about it today. I had quite the adventures on my ride down, at the practice, after practice, on the ride back. We're going to talk all about it, and we got Grifka here, who was just banging the pavement at work at his office, couldn't make it, but we're going to have some fun today talking about it and filling him in. And Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to hearing about your day. This is the first one in a long while where me and you haven't been able to go down to that first practice like that. So, I mean, like I said, disappointed. I was unable to get the time off work for other reasons. But, gosh, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing about this.
Yeah, man, it was a good day. So, any quick news and notes, Grifka? Anything jump to your radar as far as Lions transactions? Anything you heard while you've been at work here, which I might have missed on the news cycle because I've been on the road and at practice and stuff?
Well, I heard, I believe I read early yesterday that the Lions were bringing in your boy Ricky Jean again, you know, for a visit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering, any rumblings down there while you're down there today? Did you hear anything about that, or is this just kind of like, you know, if we need you on speed dial at some point, you know, don't sign anywhere else? What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, Grifka, no rumblings because me and Bobby Quinn didn't get a chance to meet and talk over the roster, unfortunately. He was a little busy, and so I didn't get the inside scoop on the what he's thinking or where he's headed with the team. But here's a quick funny story. So as I'm sitting up in the stands, this guy got up like a couple rows over and started walking down the aisles of the stands. Looked just like Ricky Jean, had the big dreads, real big dude, probably pushing 300 bills. But he had like a carry-on jersey on, but he still, even in the face, he looked just like Ricky Jean. And so I tapped this random guy, like that was a little bit close to him. I tapped him, I go, "Hey, Ricky Jean, he's out here in the stands walking down." This dude totally deadpanned me, said nothing, like just turned around and kept watching. I was like, okay, this guy is antisocial and hates people. But like anybody else, you could have asked like 20 people and like 19 of them would have said it was a dead ringer for Ricky Jean. So yep. I wasn't in the wrong, but I just tapped the wrong guy who just did not care at that point.
Maybe it was like we were talking yesterday. We were kind of joking about Matt Prater, like, "Oh, look, it's Matt Prater." No, that really is Matt Prater. I mean, that's probably what it was. You know, Ricky Jean just like trying to be incognito in a carry-on jersey, you know, because he doesn't want to wear like his own jersey. Look at that guy wearing a Ricky Francois jersey. Well, that's really Francois. I mean, so
like normally I'd say you're crazy, but it was so much looking like him that it almost felt like I thought it was a good pull, a good observation, but the guy wasn't feeling it. But that was the only loser that I ran into the whole day. Like all these other people I talked to loved it. We were just yakking football and just having a bunch of fun with the fans out there. So we'll get into all that, but I hope they bring Ricky Jean in, man. You know, I feel like we have depth on the defensive line, but I really liked just, you know, again, we beat him up a little bit when he kind of kept talking, but, you know, that was still leadership, and he's still a big body in there, has a little bit of, you know, pass rush, flex, run stuffing. You know, if they feel like they need another body, I would be fine to bring him in obviously at that minimum price and stuff like that.
Well, what about one quick question? I mean, you probably saw this earlier this week that the Packers released Mike Daniels at was it the Pro Bowler defensive tackle. He was Pro Bowler a couple years ago, and he had an injury last year. Any thoughts on him, like trying to make a run at him?
No, I mean, see, it's weird with Daniels because I like him as a not only as a football player, but I've seen interviews. I think he's been on Good Morning Football, and he's one of those guys that not only is he engaging, he's kind of like, man, that's a good leader right there. That's a mean guy that you want on your defensive line, but it really doesn't make much sense with the Lions because I heard people bouncing around saying 8-10 million bucks a year for this guy, or he's still got 2-3 good years left, going to get some big money from somebody, probably like the Colts or somebody that still has like $70 million just sitting there doing nothing. But I just don't think it's a fit money wise or for what we currently have. Like if we were totally starving for like a starting DT, probably yeah. But the scheme we run as well as the guys we already have, Ashawn, Snacks, things like that. And then Nick, you bring in a Ricky Jean and have a couple other young guys there. Even Hand can slide inside. I feel like we're good. I'm kind of just hoping he gets out of the division because I do think he has a couple good years left. And these guys always seem to get cut and then they'll go play for the Vikings or go play for the Bears. It's like, just go away, go play in, Tampa or somewhere like that. Or like I said, Indy, just some team that's out of our division, out of our realm. So, but he's a good football player, no doubt.
Okay. Well, that's only a couple things I really want to touch base with you on. I'm so interested to hear about your day. So let's get into this.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's take a quick break, Grifka. We'll come right back and talk all about it right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. What's going on, Detroit Koolaid listeners? By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the most powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team just like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is all about. I'm talking free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code Koolaid, one word lowercase, promo code Koolaid, to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. Everybody in the house, we are back on the Detroit Koolaid Cast, and we got to start talking about my day, man. For those of you, I know there's a lot of you out there listening who go down to training camp, find those weekend days or find time to take your family to when they have the family day, stuff like that. But it just kind of worked out for me where I have a ton going on right now, but I was like, man, I just want to put everything on pause. I had the availability to sort of not be in the office today, and I was like, I just want to go down, be there at that first day of training camp. Figured it was going to be great weather and make a day of it. So Grifka, like I live about 2.5 hours away from good old Allen Park headquarters there. So I had to sort of look at when this sucker started. It kind of said between 9:30 start. So that's me, again, on a non-work day. Usually I'm up bright and early, but if I'm not having to be at the office, man, I don't like getting up bright and early, but I was still up and at 'em, basically out the door by 6:30-ish, getting on the road. And Grifka, when you do that early, rocking and rolling, you're going down to watch some football, the Lions are starting camp, and like from now until January, it's going to be football basically every day, every weekend, all that stuff. I mean, you got to turn the music up loud and get it rocking and rolling, my man. I mean, I got in the car and like, this isn't even loud enough, Grifka. You got to turn it up. So Grifka, I jammed the music, man. I turned it way up and I'm like, here we go. We're heading down to training camp. So I'm rolling down. I'm making good time. I've learned my lesson over the past that you got to follow those speed limits on the highway. But as I'm heading down, man, I run into like the craziest traffic. All of a sudden, just dead stop. I'm like, oh man, now I'm gonna be late. This is crazy. I'm sitting there, we're not moving at all. I finally get up a while on the highway. I look to my left. Some guy had went head up over heels. His car was on, hood to ground, and they were like, people were trying to rock this vehicle and either get the dude out or something. Like all of 75, where I was, kind of right past Saginaw area, was shut down. So, thoughts and prayers for that dude or woman or whoever it was. But that was crazy. That probably took 30, 45 minutes of my drive, just kind of sitting there. So, like, once I got through there, man, it was just kind of smooth sailing again, turning the music up louder and louder, really enjoying my time. Now let me pull this music down, Griff, because I got a bone to pick. Like, I'm gonna bring you in here in a second, but so I get down. You've been down there with me to Allen Park, where the Lions practice. You know the setup, right?
Yeah, it's like one of those spots. It's like it's kind of tucked away. There's like no easy in or easy out.
Yeah. So I knew that going in, but I'm like, all right, man, it's Thursday during the morning-ish, like, maybe they'll have something set up, or it's supposed to be season ticket holders only, and then they opened it up. So I'm like, and because all this like delays, I'm basically late. I'm getting down there kind of right when practice should be starting. So what do, Griff? I'm like, oh, forget it. I'm gonna pull right in to that main entrance, and they always got the VIP off to the left. I'm gonna go up there and just see if I can just sneak by these jabrones that work the front. So I pull up there quick. I sort of roll up, and then I like almost was in before the people even woke up. The great security they always put there, and like, hold on. And I was like, oh man, VIP, and they're like. And then they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, this VIP parking, man, season ticket holder. They're like, no, we're full or something. I'm like, oh, damn. So I didn't put up too much of a fight, but I did try to sneak by, and they're like, oh no, you got to go around. So I did the old loop where you kind of go down the way of all those businesses that are tucked back there. And they got the knucklehead at every parking lot. Nope, keep going. So after about like 8 to 10 keep goings, I finally pull over. I'm like, hey, big man, where the heck can I park for this thing? I'm about 2 miles away now. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You're like the parking person. It says it right there on your shirt, and you're blocking this parking lot for some reason. You don't know where I'm supposed to go? Nah, man. He's like, those people up there are asking. Maybe just follow them. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people. So he sends me forward, and like literally these people were talking to somebody on a golf cart who did know, like they had a clue. And I knew I was heading to the Fairlane Mall anyway. That's what I had heard online, and I just didn't want to go there and take this dumb shuttle over. So trust me, people, we're going to get to football here in a moment. But so I follow these people, but I just GPS Fairlane Town Center, whatever. I got to go over there. So basically like 2 miles away, they make you park at this random mall parking lot. And then you got to shuttle over, right? So I'm like, I throw it in park. I grab my stuff. The other thing, Grifka, of course, my phone's usually charged up to a T. Of course, today I grab it to get it and go, oh, I'm already at only like 30% on my phone battery. Oh boy. So I'm like, all right. And then right before I left, I was kind of like, me and you get kind of disappointed that none of the big dogs, ever come over and sign. But not that we're like big autograph people, but we've been season ticket holders for, gosh, I don't know how long. I've been sharing the tickets and kind of going down there for ball games. Like, we can't get one decent signature each year. That would be like a minimum we'd hope for. So anyway, I grabbed the Lions helmet that I got, really nice Lions helmet, and the nice football I have, and was like, I'll just take it. Worst case, it just sits by me on the bleachers. But if somebody cool comes over, or if Stafford does come, the guy I've been trying to get for basically 7 to 10 years now, whatever it is, I don't want to be without it. So I grab that. I jump in the shuttle. Grifka, I'm sitting in the shuttle, and like as I walk in, there's probably 20, 30 people on the shuttle, but I'm like, why am I going to walk to the back when like the first seat was open here in the front row? So I was like, I'll just sit right here. I just sit down. Little did I know, this knucklehead, the guy that's supposed to be like, I don't know if he's with Ford Field or who he's with, he comes on, and again, I hate to run this guy down too much, but this was a weird dude, man. He had a weird voice for a man. He was talking about some weird crap up there, and I'm sitting right next to him, basically. He's one row in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, man, this guy, he couldn't even spell football. But I'm like, whatever. He's the tour guide. So I'm sitting there, and there's some cool people around. One guy had a Carry On jersey. I'm kind of like, oh, man, Carry On. Like, what do you think he's gonna do this year? Oh man, I think he'll be good. The guy gave him the football. He's got to stay healthy. Everybody says the same stuff, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, he's a beast. He knows how to hit the hole. And started asking him, well, what do you think about Theo? He get cut. The guy had some decent takes on that. So as I'm doing that, all of a sudden, the Rudy Poo tour guide grabs his microphone and starts yelling in his microphone as loud as he can, like an inch away from me, of telling the rules of like the tour bus or like what's going to go on. And I'm like, I had to literally like turn all the way to the side and try to like edge out of my seat so this guy wasn't just yelling basically in my face with this stupid microphone setup that he had, right? So I'm like, oh man, this day is off to a good day. So Grifka, is this half entertaining for you already?
Yeah, just my biggest question is, it was open to everybody, not just season ticket holders?
Yeah, like season ticket holders only, and then all of a sudden, like probably 4 or 5 days ago, the line just put out some random release saying it's open to everybody. So they must either got it not a good reply or wanted fuller stands. So yeah, it was just anybody could come to this one.
Okay.
So minor detail, but get this. This is where the juice gets turned up. This is, again, hate to throw this guy under the bus, but I'm totally going to. This was the worst guy on the mic, tour guide, whatever his job was. He had no idea what he was doing. This guy was absolutely, Grifka, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt,
struggling.
This guy, like, he had his script like a half an inch away from his face, and again, he's literally like a half a foot from my ear with his microphone. This guy is trying to read his script, which is simple things like, hey everybody, thanks for coming to Lions Camp today, like my name is so and so. I think the dude forgot his name. Like his name is, and then he couldn't say it. And then he was like, we are going to but then he couldn't pronounce, it was with Rocket Mortgage. Like he couldn't pronounce mortgage. He didn't know even that Rocket was with Quicken Loan. He didn't know any of the sponsors. Like I felt really like bad because I mean, I don't know what interview process this guy went through, but he was the worst reading this script. Like there wasn't a word that tripped him up. What?
Was he half in the bag? Was he drunk?
No. Like I don't even know. He was a weird dude, but like the fact that he couldn't read this simple script, which is like, simple thing. Like I was just sitting there. I was like really frustrated because it was just ruining my experience. And like the best part was, so he's trying to get through the script. And again, he's probably in like his 30s, 40s, like, was talking with the guy, seemed like a fluent guy, but he couldn't pronounce the simplest of words. His nerves must have been out of the roof. I don't know why. There's 20 people in this bus. So all of a sudden, I'm like annoyed by this guy. The people start heckling him in the back. People start yelling like, let's go Lions. And hey, let's speed it up with the script. And I'm just like, oh man, this guy's getting the comedian treatment where they're like, he's so bad that the people have turned on him. Exactly. He's like, hold on, I'm almost done. And they're like, well, boo. Like they were just getting after him. Like, okay, now man. This is fun.
See, oh gosh, too bad you didn't have the Carl Lewis drop. I'll make up for it. Like when he slaughtered the national anthem. I know you probably heard that on Jim Rome. Where he does
I got the Jim Rome version. Like when the guy started reading his script. Was no doubt after every word. So these people are like yelling at him, and then he's just like, oh, hold on. And then so he finishes his script, and everybody's like, it's a little restless in there because of this guy being such a, I don't know, he's just so unpersonable and like ruin the experience. So like he ends it and he starts putting the mic in front of these kids that are up there trying to get them to say go Lions. And these kids are like, go Lions, go Lions, and then he's like high-fiving the kids, and the guy in the back's like, hey, we got other kids back here too. And the guy with the mic's like, oh yeah, that's good. And you're like, they want high fives. And the guy's like, oh, I'll get them on the way out. And they're like, they want it now. So they made tour guide walk back there and personally like say what's up to these other kids, because he was basically shunning those kids, only giving the kids in the front row dap. And I was like, oh man, I gotta get off this bus right now. So
you said what? It was like a mile or two?
Yeah, this is all happening within a mile or two.
In retrospect, a mile or two is really not that far to walk. You should have just snatched the mic from him, grabbed it, and just went off and just started like reading it. I'm sure they would have loved you for it, and you would have got kicked off the bus somewhere. But it would have been worth it almost. That's what you should have done. See,
Grifka, I could have cut.
When he started slaughtering, couldn't say Rocket Mortgage. You should just rip the mic out of his hand, grab the script, start reading it, and then he would have stopped the bus, and you got kicked off, and he would have had to walk maybe a half mile, 3/4 mile. It would have been worth it, and nobody would have cheered you. So, just to let you know.
I don't know if I could have walked it, but you're right. Like I should have cut a promo on this guy, stole his scripts, ripped it up, and said, "All right, everybody, thanks for coming today. The Detroit Lions are kicking off training camp, and we're ready to rock and roll, aren't we?" And then got a big woo from the group, and then said, "All right, we're here with Rocket Mortgage today. We got a couple ground rules of what you can and can't bring into this place, but other than that, have a blast. The Lions are going to be out there. Can't wait to do it."
You shouldn't have said Rocket Mortgage. You said Rocket Mortgage along with the Detroit Koolaid. Detroit Koolaid Cast Listener.
Right. I'll get to that later. I did promo the podcast, and we got some new listeners thanks to that. But let's get off this. The dude was atrocious. I'm not even doing it justice how bad he was and how unprepared and like how embarrassing. Because this script was a half a page, maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, and he was just so bad. I'm so glad the people in the back got after him, and I was just like, get me off this thing. So right when the bus stops, I literally blow by this guy who's like, the knucklehead. I just get off the bus first thing, go to practice, get in there, and where do I go, Grifka? I go straight. Well, you tell the people where's the spot?
By the cheerleaders.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, they were there looking scrumdiddlyumptious. But where do we go when we watch practice, Grifka?
We always go to the far side of the field.
And where do we go at the stands?
The very top.
Oh yeah, gotta go right to the top. Now, Grifka, yeah. I did make a half tactical error. As I was going up, I took a quick lefty because I saw they were giving out the free T-shirts still. So I snagged a free Rocket Mortgage training camp tee, which I'm actually wearing right now. Fits me nice. I did not see the blue donuts, which me and you crushed last year, 2 apiece at 8 a.m. on a super hot day. So I did not see the line donuts. Right there. How about if we go on the 5th and they got the donuts? Me and you see how many we can eat before we get in there. Just see how many they'll give us and yeah. Anyway, so I didn't see any free food, but I didn't really look. I grabbed my T-shirt. I'm like, man, I'm kind of late. I don't want Pat to get mad at me. So I get up to the stands. I go to the top row, middle, like you say, the best spot to watch practice. But I did it tactfully, Grifka. I got up there. And like as I'm walking down kind of to the middle of the one side of the bleachers, looking at the top, I'm looking at the top, evaluating who's up there. Is it old guy? Is it young person with a bunch of kids running around, or is it football guy? So I'm like, I find this row and I'm like, man, that dude looks cool. Maybe we'll be able to talk football since Grifka's not up here. I'll just go post up there. So I walk up the middle row, post up right at the top, start trying to watch receivers and all the different people that are at our end. So at this point, Grifka, I shoot Eric Schlitt of USA Today Lines Wire a text. We were going to try to connect when he's down there. And I'm like, I'm here, man. Where are you at? And he was like, the towers. I'm like, what towers? Because I looked around and like, you think I'd be able to pick out some towers, but I thought the media had to go way on the far side, kind of where the players come out of. But I was like, I don't see anybody there, and that's not really even a tower. So I'm like, what towers? And he's like, oh, over here behind the field goal post. And there was this like black tower where you could see all the media was at the very top, but it was like hard to even see from where I was. It was kind of like blocked by the building, and like you said, it was right behind the field goal area. So I was like, all right, cool. I see you now. I'm like, if you got any time, maybe we'll connect. Needless to say, I'm not going to totally throw him under the bus, but Eric Schlitt big timed me. We didn't get together. No, he didn't. He was busy. I was watching practice, and then by the end, he had to do some interviews. So we're going to try to connect either next time I'm down there or some things. Everybody, if you don't know Eric Schlitt, check him out. Writes great articles for USA Today Lions Wire. So thankful for him for giving me an opportunity to kind of come on their team and bring you that fantasy football content I've been bringing. So looking forward to seeing him. So Grifka, you got any questions, anything before we get into this practice here? Because I got some news and notes coming about what I saw.
Okay, I guess my first question is if it was opened up because me and you, I mean, I know you've been to other practices, but me and you always go to the season ticket holder one, and there always seems to be a decent-sized crowd. How big a crowd was really there today? Was it difficult finding a spot? Because usually with us, we can just hop right in and, like, there seems to be ample seating for us. Not saying nobody shows up, but, you know, there seems to be, we're comfortable up there. We're never really tight. Was it a really large crowd today, or, you know, I mean, more than what you've seen in the past? A lot of people along the fence. You know, was pretty big crowd there for the first practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought it was a fine crowd for kind of a Thursday, really hot day, work week type of thing. You know, I'd say the bleachers were kind of like 2/3 to 3/4 full. It wasn't hard to find a spot. I mean, up where I was, there's plenty of room. You can move around, whatever you wanted to do, but good crowd, again, quiet crowd, just kind of watching, talking with each other. A few times, you'd hear people start clapping or kind of get after it, when a couple things happen, which we'll get into here in a minute. But, I thought it was a decent crowd for that first day. And like I say, let me wait till I tell you kind of the spot I got. It just worked out well. So again, just joking with Eric, but that was fun. And then so I'm just watching. I'm kind of watching practice, and all of a sudden the dude that was kind of in that area, which I thought would be kind of know his football, whatever, he like hears me like kind of yelling a couple things. So he had his wife there. He gets up and kind of stands up on that top row like me and you do, and he just starts like kind of talking football with me. I'm like, oh yeah, da, da, da. And I start going back with him, and he just has a million questions and kind of like good observations. So we're just having a blast up there, laughing and carrying on about all these players. Did I say carry on?
Carry on my wayward son.
So we're just going on, and I told him I'd shout him out on the show. So as we're talking, I'm kind of like, hey man, you a podcast guy? He's like, oh yeah, I love podcasts. He's like, you? I'm like, oh yeah, I like podcasts. I'm like, there's one I really like. He's like, oh yeah, what's that? I'm like, oh man, there's this show, man, Detroit Koolaid Cast, a great show. And I'm like, it's actually my show and my buddy Griff, because we do it together, and we talk Lions 3 times a week plus some fantasy football. And he's like, oh man, dude whips out his phone, finds it. Koolaid Cast, huh? Bam, subscribe, which all of you should do on your phones. Just hit that subscribe either on iTunes or Spotify or TuneIn or any of those platforms you want to listen to us. But he was all in, man, on the Koolaid Cast, wanting to listen. So that was cool. And I told him I'd shout him out on the show. So if he hears this, Nate, man, I got his name. Nate was up there hanging with me basically the whole practice, which was super fun. And then his wife was sitting there like really quiet, just sort of watching and trying to stay out of the sun. But like halfway through, he's like, yeah, my wife, we kind of been in Wisconsin for a bunch. She's kind of a Packer fan. I'm like, uh-oh. So what do you think I did, Griff? I just start unloading like Packer jokes about Gargonzola and Swiss. And then I'm like making fun of Aaron Rodgers, telling her how much I hate him. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to work on her to get her to be a Lions fan. And she started talking with me, and she was really nice and funny. So kind of had fun talking with both of them. But that really made the day, having somebody in your place up there that we could really just talk back and forth, what we were seeing, what was good, what wasn't. So that was fun. Grifka, first play that I see, the ball is thrown up to the left pylon area, back middle of the end zone. The ball is thrown up. A player goes up, snatches the football at the highest point, comes down, taps his toes, falls to the ground. Incredible touchdown catch over, some defenders that were also in the area. Grifka, TD Hawkinson, baby, with the first catch I saw basically of practice. What do you think about that? Here's what Dan Miller thinks.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What do you think about that?
We'll get the soundbite I want. We talk about practice, not a game.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Grifka, before you talk, it's not silly. I gave you the soundbite because AI does it so much better than you, but practice matters. The Hawk came in hot and made a huge catch right off the bat, and he made more throughout the day. If you want to run him down, now's your chance, because the guy was making plays. He looked good out there, and you're going to be eating your words, buddy.
Like I said, man, we talking about practice. Okay, cool. I'm glad he's catching the ball. Okay, so
All right. Well, let's just kind of highlight again, as Grifka and most people know that go down there. So much going on. There's all these different sessions. Couple you can see, a couple are way on the far end of the field. So, just a couple things I picked up on while I was also, talking with Nate, hanging out, and just sort of checking work emails on my phone and managing a whole bunch of stuff. But Grifka, the tight ends were giving the Lions fits in the red zone, man. They ran this little red zone drill where it was basically like 10, 15 yards and in. I swear, there was like 3-4 touchdowns right in a row to the tight end. I mean, does that surprise you?
no, not really. That's a typical.
It's not like we haven't had trouble with tight ends in the last,
Yeah,
I don't know, 5 years, right?
Yeah, once again, what do you always tell me? Water's wet, sky's blue. I mean, you always
Yeah.
tell me that, but yeah,
Right.
I mean, no, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, it was kind of disconcerting to see. It was literally like Hawkinson touchdown. Then they threw a out of the backfield touchdown, not a tight end, but another big body. Nick Bawden, I think, got a touchdown. Then he threw a touchdown to Nada, and then back. I think Hawkinson might have had 2 in that series. But I looked over at Nate. I'm like, did I really just see like 3-4 touchdowns straight all to our big body tight ends or fullbacks against our D with a lot of times nobody even in the picture? He's like, yeah, I think so. It's like, oh boy. But like I say, a good thing for the tight ends, not so good for like the Killebrews that were playing those guys on defense, or some of the linebackers that were having issues, I guess, against these guys.
Well, at least you're using names that we're expecting to catch a tight ends. I would have been more disappointed if you're telling me like Jerome Cunningham's out there tearing it up.
Yeah,
that would be like, I would feel much worse. I mean, I'd be like, oh gosh, like Jerome Cunningham's beating our number ones, and then the linebackers might have some real issues. But okay, I guess I can sort of live with Hawkinson and Nada that you said, and Jesse James out there, fine, I can live with that. But you start getting down the depth chart and look, the guys that are catching touchdowns look like they pulled out of the stands. I mean, then yeah, I mean, then I guess I'd be really, really worried. But yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, it was early in practice, one of those short end drills they were working on, so it was good. Grifka, here's another side item I had that was non-football. So I recently got a new iPhone, got the iPhone XR, great phone, loved it. It's got the Face ID, just super convenient to use. I got the crazy storage on it, so I'm loving this phone. And I actually got like one of those screen covers, so like if you break it or if you drop it, it doesn't break, which. Here's a side note for all you people that have these phones with these smashed up fronts. I've never once like dropped my phone where it was anywhere near going to smash up the front or mess it up or scratch it all up. I don't know what you people are doing, but I was just like, this got the super cheap kind of, really nice cover that goes over the front so it doesn't scratch it if it was to drop it, which I won't. And then it's also like a privacy thing. So like you can't see it from like any angle except basically when I'm watching it. So like that's been cool. I've been like, oh man, I love this thing. I hated it today. Like up in that top row, I couldn't see my damn phone with a damn. Like I was like, I had an inch from my face, and I'm trying to cover my eyes and cover the phone so I could even see if I got an email, if Erica texted me back, if I was like, I'm trying to write Grifka and Hughes and send them some pictures, and I'm like, I can't see this dang phone right now. This is pissing me off. So like I had a huge issue with my phone today, but nonetheless, getting back to football, like Grifka. Jelani Tavai put this out on Twitter, is a big dude. First time I looked up, he was standing right next to Jared Davis with the starting defense and made Jared Davis look tiny. He's sitting out there. He's got the hair flowing out the back, but he looks big. And when I mean big, like tall, wide, like just a big football player that my only concern is like, okay, if this guy can run at all and has instincts, like he's going to be good in this defense because he's so big. And like Bob Quinn said, you just can tell even with the pads or the jersey on and stuff, like you said, big shoulders, big back. Like I saw him after practice, which I'll talk about here in a bit. And same thing, looked tremendous. Remember when I saw Christian Jones last year? We were standing over there and I was kind of talking with you. I look over, I'm like, oh damn, that's Christian Jones. That's a big dude. And then he came over and I'm like, what's up, man? We're glad to have you in the D. He was like, thanks. He had like that Barry White voice, and I'm like, yeah. Wow, that's not some of the old linebackers that Terrell Austin's running out there that are like 220 pounds. I mean, this was 200 pounds. This is a big guy. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, if this kid can play, we found something in this guy, and he moved Like, I think it was Mike O'Hara that said, man, this guy just gets it. He's just a football player and he just moves fluidly. That's what I saw today, man, out of this kid.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. I mean, size like that, and like, prior show, me and you had talked, maybe the Lions' plan was to move him into the middle and, put Davis on the outside with Davis' speed and stuff. So maybe that's one of those things. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen him, besides film that, the highlights and stuff that they show about him, I've seen, but I don't know if he'll be, once again, fast enough to be the weak side linebacker. So I don't know. I guess when we go down there on the 5th, I can set my eyes on him, get a little better take.
Everybody is waiting with bated breath, Grifka, until you get to watch them, because that's when we know you do your best evaluating,
well, like
right?
Like I said, you can make anybody look like a Pro Bowler and a Hall of Famer on a highlight clip. That's why it's called a highlight clip. I mean, like you said, I'm sure, you can go find some tape of, like, the people who were covering, Hawkinson today, making like Miles Killebrew and, like make him look like a stud. And if he's the one that's getting beat like a drum out there, I mean, there's, that you've seen him and said, gosh, he's not as good. So, yeah, I mean, let's see what he can do. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I normally, like I said, even when I was talking with Nate, he was asking me about players. I'm like, all right, when you listen to the podcast, you're going to see that when they play for the Lions, I'm much more optimistic, where my buddy Grifka is sometimes that old Lions fan that thinks the sky is falling. So I'm going to tell you I like most of these players, but my quick take on Tavai too is, like, again, the size I liked, the fluidity that he ran and kind of moved, I liked. There was one thing I didn't like, but I kind of wrote it off. They ran this crazy drill where it was two guys running down on like a punt, and they were just supposed to kind of run as fast as they could, and the guy was going to catch it and try to make a move, and the two guys were supposed to tag him down, and they had Tavai and somebody else doing that. And like, that was the point where I said, like, I could see this guy maybe being a special team option, but not in this scenario. Like, he's not going to be a gunner, obviously, but even running this far and then trying to keep up with a guy like, I think it was Powell that was back there. Powell! That made a move, and, you could tell the speed difference at that point. But like I said, that was the only thing. And I just want to caution, as optimistic and as positive as I'm saying, is, yeah, I think, when people are saying to move him to the middle, to me, that's too quick, because even if he's a really good football player, I mean, he's going to need some time to sort of get his feet wet, get out there. You're not just going to make him the guy in the middle of your defense from day one when, I don't think. I mean, I'd be surprised. So I think, more upside than a lot of us thought when they took him. But, hey, let's both be realistic and give him a little bit of time before we put him in the Hall of Fame or go crazy about him. So, but I did like what I see, and man, up close, you're just like, holy, it was kind of surprising just how big he felt and looked. So that was good.
Okay. Was there anybody else that you kind of saw at practice today? Because like I said, me and you go down there and we're like, gosh, this guy's not even going to make the roster. That's what we said about Andy Jones, and he ends up catching touchdowns. But is there anybody that kind of stood out, today besides, Tavai and Hawkinson? Anybody else that kind of like surprised you, I guess?
Yeah, again, it was sort of hard to see everybody. I mean, I have on my list here that even though Nauta caught that early touchdown, he sort of had a rough day. Like, there was a few end zone seam balls and a few things that hit his hands that, yeah, they weren't like easy catches, but they also, he's able to get both hands on it, wasn't able to pull it in. So I kind of gave him a check minus. As far as, a couple good guys I saw, man, I don't know. I liked what I saw from Matt Stafford today. He was putting the ball where it needed to be. I was watching some, end zone routes where he had to kind of throw it to that back pylon, and the ball always seemed to be right there. I mean, in individual kind of 7-on-7 type drills, he seemed to always be putting it where it needs to. Like, I also thought later, as I came home and I sort of got to watch a little NFL Network, and they were showing this guy, Griff, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Odell Beckham. He's one of the greatest receivers. They're showing him catching like a 40-yard ball over his shoulder, crazy catch. Like, I didn't see any of those today from 9 pushing the ball downfield or anything. But I thought not only was he accurate and sharp, but the part I loved is, like, one time they kind of ran this play and like nothing was open. So like he got more time, it scrambled out to the right. He probably would have been sacked, but he scrambled out to the right. And Amendola kind of shook off his route, went to the sideline, and Stafford put this really nice ball to the sideline right on him. But afterwards, Stafford and Amendola literally, Stafford and Amendola literally spent a good, I'd say 2 to 3 minutes where Stafford called him over, was saying, okay, he's giving all these hand signals. When I do this, you go here. This is where I want you. And he even took Amendola over to those big screens they have. And he said, let's watch it again. It was up on the screen. He said he was talking about what he wanted or what to do in the next situation. Amendola was listening to him, giving him a little bit of feedback. And they really spent a lot of time not only together, but I felt like that was, again, that Stafford leadership rather than, the random high five or the this, that, and the other. That was going that extra mile to make sure him and Danny Boy were on the same page, as well as, hey, if we see this again next time, this is where I want you, more so than just what they did on that exact play. So I like seeing that. So Stafford got high marks. Nice to see Kenny out there. He hadn't done anything in the spring. He caught a few touchdowns in tight where he just ran like a slant. Of course, Mike Ford couldn't do anything. And then he ran another ball where he just sort of beasted the guy and caught a touchdown. So I liked what I saw from him. And, just it seemed like everybody was basically just healthy and out there. So that was good to see.
That's good. So nothing, where you had to, nothing where you saw like the trainers come over and check out somebody. And because I know last year when we were down there, we saw that a couple times. Even just, I realize everything's precautionary now. If a guy like sneezes funny, it seems like they're taking him off the field. First practice, making sure they don't get hurt. But you didn't really see anything of that from your point of view?
Yeah, no, none of that. We did have some people running some laps, Grifka, which was good. I was telling Nate, I was like, "Oh man, look at these two bums over here. They're running a lap." I didn't even know who they were, so they were the guys down on the roster. But Matt Pat still had that going, which was fun to see. A couple news and notes that I picked up while I was there, as well as reading Eric Schlitt's article about kind of what he saw today. No A'Shawn Robinson, not only not at practice, but nobody really knows why. Nothing was said. Oh man, Grifka, I buried the lead. I'm going to get to this later as we kind of finish this show up. But first thing I noticed, other than the TD Hawkinson touchdown, yeah, we know it's TJ, but I would call him TD because that's what he's going to do in season. After I saw that, I looked to my left, and there's Matt Pat on a golf cart. The guy busted up his leg or something. Like he's out there having a roll around on a cart like the stupid coach from the Packers. I was totally bummed out by that because me and you loved how he was in everybody's face in the middle of the defense, hitting the sled. So that like bummed me out right off the get-go.
Yeah, I saw that when he went to the press conference, he had like one of those little carts, he had some leg surgery or something recently. So, I know, like I said, you were giving Matt LaFleur, the coach of the Packers, some grief. So I guess that's that side karma somehow. See, by you giving Matt LaFleur grief, you affected our coach. Nice job.
I hated it because he's so fun to watch how he gets out there, and I'll talk about it here in a minute after practice because Matt Pat came over where I was, and I had some fun with the guy, to put it lightly. But let's get through a few more of these things. So, well, that's kind of my notes. Like you say, I thought it was a good practice. Again, it was basically I came there, got there about like a little after 9:30 when it started, and they were already up running drills. So it wasn't like 10 minutes of stretching. They were already doing stuff, and they basically went from 9:30 when I arrived all the way up to 11:30ish, and then they did a huddle up, and then they did a 6-minute period after where they let some of the backup quarterbacks and backup receivers do more work, as well as old linemen, stuff like that. And then I don't know, it just felt like they were doing not only a lot of work in practice as well as high tempo, good drills. There was one drill that I want to hit on. It was across the field, so it was a little hard to see, but they literally had like 6 rows of players, and they had 5 or so players all clumped together, and like one guy would have the football and the other 5 were just trying to get it out, like aggressively trying to get it out. And then I think they were told after a while to fumble it on purpose because then the ball would roll, and it was the job of like the one guy that fumbled it to sort of keep it away from the other guys while the other defenders were trying to scoop it. And then if they scooped it, I think like they were the next guy then that had the ball and everybody's trying to rip it out. So I like that drill as well as that mentality of, hey man, we got to get the football out when we can. And then number 24, who, gosh, I don't have it in front of me right now, and I don't, we know that number was a not so effective number for another guy that's no longer with the team, but 24, who I didn't check my program, had a pick and basically ran it to the end zone during practice too. So I didn't see many turnovers, but we had one of those, and then we had a right off the early practice teased Haber getting his hands on a football. Matt Stafford tried to sort of throw it in like a pocket between a few guys, and Tease got his hands on it but didn't come down with it. So, not many turnovers to speak of in practice, but that was an emphasis, no doubt. So I thought the practice was high tempo. It was good. I liked the extra work after. Oh, yeah. And then the other cool part, everybody note this at home. So literally the practice ends before they huddled up. Every position group across the field, right by where the fans were, lined up at the end zone, and we're running 60-yard gassers over and over and over again. I swear they probably ran 12 of them back and forth, and it would be like all the receivers were clumped together, all the quarterbacks, all the other skill guys, and they'd run. And then after that, it was like the linebackers, the corners, the safeties, they'd run. And at the very end, it was all the old linemen and, the big boys like that, and then they'd run. Man, they were going back and forth. Now, I can't say everybody was running as hard as possible, but Stafford, Amendola were two guys I saw kind of at the head of their group. I saw some of the defenders, some of the young defenders out there kind of leading their groups, some of those rookies that we talked about. So I love that again. I thought, like, man, it's a hard practice, and now you're running, 8 gassers back and down. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that's something that seems like I don't think we saw that last year, and I know there's always talk that last year that some of the players weren't happy that he kind of made them run, but
they did a little thing. Running, but this was not only different, but it was like literally right in front of the people, and it wasn't like, hey, go down and back and then meet me here. I'm gonna break you down. It was like, yeah, we're gonna do this until you're completely exhausted, is what it felt like to me. It was like the guy that was running it was like gauging, like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this until I feel like they're dead dog tired. And like I said, I loved it. I took a few photos. I'll have to put that on Twitter. I kept taking photos of that because I was like, this is Jim Caldwell never did this. Like, these other coaches, they never put these guys through the paces, and it showed up last year in Miami and whatnot. So love that. Grifka, let's get to the after practice because we definitely got some things to talk about there.
Okay, so who came over? Who'd you see today? Did T.J. Jones make an appearance on your side of the fence this time as opposed to the other side of the fence?
I don't think – is T.J. Jones on this football team, Griffith?
No,
because I saw 13.
I meant he came as a fan, so he was actually on our side of the fence as opposed to, like, signing autographs.
Yeah. I mean, unlike you, Grifka, with your I Love T.J. Jones sign, I wasn't looking for him. So I was standing there. I'm kind of like, I'm like, this is where I always get disappointed. Not that I'm an autograph hound, but just want a couple good guys. So, like, as the players start to come over, it's like, again, I hate to do it, but it's the bottom of the roster guys that you're just kind of like, So I'm literally half disinterested right now, just kind of like, all right, maybe I'll just leave, or maybe I'll see if Eric is free. Maybe we can catch up again. And I literally, like, look up after a couple minutes. I don't even know how he sort of snuck over there. And sure enough, like, right in front of my face, right where I was standing at the bleachers, is Trey freaking Flowers. Just standing there. There's probably only a clump of like 10 people where I was. They just kind of crowded up, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go down there, and here's my dilemma, Grifka. You're gonna hate this, and I hated it too. But in my rush and with all the things I got going on, I grabbed my helmet and stuff. Do you think I got the silver Sharpie that I need?
No. What'd you have?
Yeah, I didn't have the silver Sharpie. I mean, the guy had a black pen, so I'm thinking, okay, like, this football is not going to be good, but I also have the custom Stafford helmet, so I'm like, I want to get something signed by Trey, but I got nothing. Like, if Grifka's here, you just got the mini helmet, we got the pens, and we got nothing. So I'm like debating what to do. So I just start talking to him, like, hey, Trey, man, we love having you in the D. Like, he's like, thanks, man, it's great to be here. And I'm like, we're going to have you be a terror off the edge, man. He's like, yeah, you can't wait. And I'm like, people are like, you like it in Detroit? I'm like, he loves it here. He just hates quarterbacks. Like, yeah, I hate quarterbacks. We're having this fun, like, back and forth, which was cool. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking in my mind, all right, like, should I get this football sign with a black Sharpie or not? So, and as I look off to my left at the corner of my eye, I see Matt Stafford, like, in the middle of the two fields, and he looks like he may come over, which again is like seeing a lunar eclipse because it never happens. But he's like looking over there. He's kind of got his helmet off, like, maybe this guy will come over. There's not many people here. So I'm like, all right, so here's what I'm going to do. So I gave him the official Lions game ball that I have. And I'm like, hey, Trey, sign this like in big right across like or I think I said across the shield, which again, little did I know he was going to do it like super tiny right on the shield. And you've seen that football. It's a really dark football anyway.
Yeah.
So like you can't read it at all. It's just black on top of black and gold. You can't even see it. I'm like, oh damn it. I'm like, well, I mean the football is still usable, but I'm like that was not really how or where I wanted it. So and I'm looking over and now I see like Stafford's not really coming over here. So I'm like, all right, screw it. So I like literally take a step back and I rip the 9 and the little green dot for the quarterback helmet off the helmet. I'm like, I'm getting this signed by Trey Flowers. So I say, hey, Trey, man, can you just do this helmet too? It would be appreciated. So he signed the back of this authentic Lions helmet that I've got that I always keep in the man cave and kind of signed it on the back, which, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, but there's not really a great spot to put a signature there. So I thought that was cool. I just kept chatting with him. So really good guy, really fun. And it's kind of like, hey man, he's the $90 million man. He's gonna be here for a while. So like I said, me and you always gauge, you know, who's worth the autograph on an item like that. I thought he was worth it. So was glad to walk away with the big helmet signed by Trey Boy.
Well, see, now that he's on it, now it can be that helmet where everybody signs it, and people go, hey, that's Trey Flowers right here. Well, who's that guy? I don't know. I just got him at practice a couple years ago.
Yeah. No, it's not going to be to everybody. I mean, I was thinking like you could still do a good helmet with the good players. Like if Slay came by, Slay and Trey on there, and then maybe you get like Diggs on there. But
like Marvin Jones was like signing somewhere, and Slay was signing somewhere, and you know I saw a few picks like that because
well, I guess those guys were on the far. So there's a couple sets of bleachers. I was on the far right. I guess Slay and Marv were on the far left, and they only signed for a good couple minutes. I literally didn't even see them make their way over there. But I'm over there, like I said, I was just chatting with Trey. You know what I thought, Griff? I wasn't as quick on my feet, and because I had nobody like, hey, hold this or let me take a picture or anything, I should have been quick on my feet, turned my phone on record and said, hey, Trey, can you say welcome to the Detroit Koolaid Cast? This is Trey Flowers. I bet he would have done it. He was that nice, and I had that much time literally to yak with him, but I didn't do it. That would have been badass.
Yeah, that would have been sweet, actually. I don't know if we would have gotten in trouble for that, but still, it would have been neat.
Oh, no, he could have said, I mean, he's not like, he's not sponsored. He's just saying, hey, this is Trey Flowers. Welcome to the Koolaid Cast. I don't know. He probably wouldn't have known what it was, but I bet he would have done it. Anyway, let me move this story along. So that was super fun. I mean, again, if I could pick out like a top 5, top 8 guys I want to come over, like he's right up at the top of the list. So that was really great. Then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, that was cool. Trey Flowers signed the helmet and kind of the ball, but you can't tell. So I'm about ready to sort of pack up my stuff. And then all of a sudden I look over, here comes Matt Pat on his golf cart again, right where I'm standing. I'm like, oh, so I walk over to the bleachers and I just stand up on the bleachers and do what I do, Grifka, which is yell at people and have fun. So everyone else is getting their stuff signed and I'm standing up there like, hey coach, way to run him today. Hey coach, I love what you're doing with this defense. And he's just loving it. He keeps looking up at me going like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And Matt Pat was so good. He's kind of like, oh man, appreciate you fans. We love you guys for coming out. Just the most personable guy. But all of a sudden, like right after I'm standing there, somebody goes, hey coach, what'd you do to your foot or your leg? Like, you going to be all right? And before he can answer, I yell out, we don't talk about injuries. And everybody's like, he just looks up at me, he goes, you gotta listen to that guy. And I was like, oh yeah. and then I said, you're probably probable for tomorrow's practice, huh, coach? He was like, yeah, I'm probable. And so that was fun. And somebody gave him a one of those gigantic pencils. He loved that. He looked at it. He was like, oh, this is cool. And he signed the pencil again in his all caps, printed name.
That way. How awesome would have that been with like all cap Matt Pat on the big helmet? That would have been so sweet.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, had I had a mini, I would have done it. But I was like, this is a really nice helmet. I don't know if I want the ultra bold. What is it? The impact font on there, especially because I had Trey already on there. I mean, come on, Trey's on the back. So, let me finish this story, Griff. So I'm like, I don't have anything really for him to sign, but I also just am loving them, kind of chatting, making him laugh. And so all of a sudden, some random person hands him a PlayStation controller. Or the security guard. Matt Pat looks at this thing. He's like, has this weird look on his face, like, you really want me to sign this? He's like, that's a first. And so he signs this guy's like PlayStation controller, gives it another look and a shoulder shrug, like, oh, what the hell? And gives it back to the security guard. I thought that was funny. And
Yeah,
then
really.
he just hung out there for a while and talked with everybody, and then he zoomed away on his cart when he's backing up. I was just making jokes, and then when he left, oh, look out, people, he's coming in hot. All that kind of stuff. It was just a blast. What a great guy. But yeah, man, I wish I would have had, again, I could have brought more gear, more stuff, but again, we're not really there for the autographs, but it is fun to not only get signed, but have those moments where you can chat with these guys.
Yeah. But like you said, the biggest thing is, you get to chat with them, and when we do have the gear, it seems like nobody comes over, and we just kind of like stand back. It's like, okay, kiddos,
Right.
go get it.
Right.
You're just always kind of waiting for somebody, and like they disperse and go other spots. So,
Right.
but it
So-
sounds like it was a good time, man. It sounds like it was
man,
a good time. Sorry, I missed
super
it.
fun. Super fun to see him. And then I'm about ready to leave again, but all of a sudden I look to my far left and there's Jelani Tavai at the far end, just sort of it seemed like he had been there for a while, just signing. So I'm like, this is when I really said, let me go over and get a look at this guy. So that's when I went over. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a big dude. He had a smile on his face. He was taking care of all the people. And then all of a sudden a coach came over and was like, talked to him about how he had to go. And the coach was like, all right, he was like doing a referee count, like in WWE. The coach is like 10. And then he'd wait for a while and go 9, and like Jelani Tavai like starts speeding up, like signing as many things as he can, and people are heckling him like, "Hey man, I've been here for a while. You gotta take care of me." Jelani Tavai's like, "Oh, I got you." He's running around like signing as many signatures as he can. I'm like, "Don't worry, people. He's good under pressure. He won't flop under pressure. He's got you." And Jelani Tavai's laughing. He's signing these. I'm like telling him, "Hey man, it's good to have you. Be a beast in the middle." Of course, I'm just yelling all my normal stuff that I do, like to a player like him. He's signing away. The guy's like, 2. It's like, oh, 2 seconds. Sign the last one. 1. Johnny Tavai's still trying to sign for people, and like gets the last person done. The guy's like 0, and then he sprinted off to the locker room. And I was like, all right, man, everybody's gone. The shot clock has run out. I've had my fun, and exited practice at that point. So that was good times, man.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, like you said, you got some names, got a rookie over there, and I'm sure other spots around there. Like you said, the guys were never really that interested in. Probably came around as well. But hopefully when we're down there on the 5th, we do get that same sort of luck, because that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, man. Like you say, we're not trying to howl for autographs, but it was nice. I mean, again, that's only really a couple guys and a rookie, but just even that little bit, like even if we go down and Tracy and Diggs and Carry On come by, I mean, that would be incredible. Or like say, get Matt Pat again and get something that he could sign, that would be fun. I mean, it just kind of makes that end of the day cool. And like you say, these guys, first day of practice, they're really not out there totally grinding. One thing Matt Pat said that was funny, he's like, you guys got to come back in a couple days, we'll be in pads. I was like, oh yeah, this guy hates these like little wimpy walkthroughs. He wants to get the pads on and get after it. So that was cool. And man, Griff, I got some other hijinks on my ride home, but I think we've talked a lot about kind of the whole experience just going down. I had a 2.5 hour drive back, crazy traffic, bunch of crazy little things happened to me left, right, and center. But overall, man, it was just a really, really perfect day in Michigan, perfect day to start Lions camp. Really glad that I took the 2 hours plus each way to go down, because like, you know how it is, like sometimes we all get so busy with life, work, family, this, that, and the other. Like we can't just hit that pause button and say like, I just want to go be outside for 4 or 5 hours and watch football and drive home with the music up as loud as I can. So I think that's just encouragement to everybody that if you can get down there, it's really a fun experience. They got games for kids, all types of stuff. And I was just, when I went home, I said, man, just getting the funny moments, the football, and the fun with some of the actual big time players was well worth it, and I just had a blast. So it was great.
Yeah, that's like I said, man, I was so sad I wasn't able to go, but I'll be looking forward to that here in a couple weeks when we go down there.
Yeah, man, sounds good. We're looking forward to that, and like you say, between going to that practice with you, and then I'll be at the going to go to the preseason game because the Patriots, my buddy Chops, looking forward to that, getting to catch up with him and just kind of get this football season kicked off right here, man, a couple weeks, and we'll be up and rolling. So that'll be crazy. I'm really looking forward to it. And Grifka, man, we're also really looking forward to that next week, Wednesday and Friday. Me and you are going to take that schedule and we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk about who's winning, who's losing, score predictions, takes on the game way before it's ever played, and see what we end up with records and see what we end up when the season's all over. Did we hit? Did we miss? Where were we right? Where were we completely wrong? Because the NFL is so hard to predict. I'm really looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, I always love doing our breakdown here. We usually, I don't know if we start drinking a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid at that point, but you know me, I always love ripping on the Packers at that point. I think I'm going to start ripping on the Bears too, because no matter how good they think they are, I still think the Bears suck.
Grifka, you know that we drink that Kool-Aid and
Cornbread!
Have that crackling cornbread to go with it. So never too much of that, man. And keep those spirits high. This is where everybody has a chance. I like what this football team showed me today. I like the youth. I like the depth. And now we just got to go out and do it on the football field. So looking forward to it, man. How about catch you here next week? And do you have, Grifka, after this recap of training camp, all the stuff we talked about, do you have anything else for the people?
Nope.
Everybody hit subscribe, tweet at us at Derek Okrie, DEREKOKRIE, and you can get at Grifka at Grifka DKC. We'd love to get questions, talk it up with you. The Lions are on the field. Football is here. We're so happy. We're get up out of here. We'll catch you guys next week right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Take care, everybody. We are out.
Pack the bags, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.